So, Mark, in your bio, you mentioned being an actor. Are you still an actor in the traditional sense? And do you still consider yourself an actor as you perform your current work?
That's an excellent question. And the first part, no, I'm not an actor in the traditional sense. No, I don't take. I mean, I'm not offered jobs like that anymore. If a friend asks me to do something fun like a reading or a little project, I'll do that. But I love the second part of your question because I do think of myself as an actor in terms of what I do clinically, and people wonder what I mean. You can't say that too much because it sounds funny. It sounds like I'm being fake with my
Hmm.
clients, and that's not at all what I mean. I actually mean the exact opposite. The art of acting is about truth. It's about finding truth in various life circumstances and perspectives, and that's what being a therapist is. You're in these scenes with people, and trying to find out the truth of the behaviors and the experience. And so yes, great question. And I do think of myself as an actor professionally still.
Sometimes I feel like whenever I'm talking to my therapist, she probably has to put on an acting face and so that she doesn't like seem overly shocked or disappointed, or not disappointed, but just like really kind of questioning. Although she doesn't spare, like she doesn't pull her punches. So maybe not, but
Well, it's funny when I first started out, I probably thought of it in those terms, in terms of like, oh, I've got to hide some kind of reaction. But actually now, it really depends. I mean, I'm always trying to find um, a genuine expression on my face, meaning, your thoughts register whether you know it or not. And
Mhm.
that's part of the art of, it's almost like film acting more than even theater acting, because there's no hiding your thoughts. And so your therapist um, may not want to show you a reaction, but perhaps she's thinking in terms of her curiosity about what you're actually saying, and um, which is truthful. It's not
Yeah.
actually hiding when you think of it that way, if that makes sense.
It does. It does make sense. Okay. Can you come over here? Come here. Stay over there for a little bit. So, can you tell us a little bit more about your experiences and what made you become interested in moving from acting to specializing in mental health?
Yeah, well, I think I always wanted to do both. Really, I just love listening to people and learning about all kinds of people. That's just what I love to do, always. and was very needy, like the kitty, and I perhaps and just needed to have some attention of my own for a time, and that's why I pursued acting. I grew up as a listener, like I said, and I think acting, particularly in college, was like an opportunity to be all the people I was listening to, or at least those versions of myself. And then I went to graduate school for acting as well, and started working in New York and regional theater and so forth. But I wasn't. Maybe I just wasn't good enough, or my personality wasn't good enough to sustain that lifestyle, but I just wasn't getting the opportunities that I wanted. And so I started a theater company for myself and for other artists that I knew, to just play a range of people. I think the industry kind of tries to pigeonhole you and make you your what I call your everyday self, like the
Hmm.
personality that you show to people, but that's not who you are as a total human being. I think of it like kind of like a piano. Like you've learned to play a few of the keys, but we all have the capacity to be all these keys. And so I did that with the theater company. I gave myself and other people that opportunity to expand our expression of self. And we had talkbacks with audiences, and it was great. And I just felt like social work school was a natural extension of that, just like an interest in lots of different people and our capacities to be lots of different things. And therapy was the next step there as well. I think that the therapy office is, it's kind of like a rehearsal studio, or like when you're an audience even, or reading a book and getting lost in a character's life. Um, it's an opportunity to step outside of everyday life and to find the different parts of you. And so that's my long-winded way of saying I feel like I've been doing the same work forever, and it's just taken different forms.
That's I've never heard anyone describe therapy in a therapist's office that way, and I love it. That is fantastic. I mean, what a way to look at that in a different, a lot of time you think of therapy and it's just, okay, you go in and there's a couch, right? And then you're talking to someone, and and that's not necessarily what therapy always is.
I actually believe it should have an element of play at all times.
Kevin says, as a professional, do you have a sense for when someone is holding back and or exaggerating their issue? That's a good question, Kevin.
That's a great question. And I have an answer to that. It's when I'm bored, because I'm never, nothing bores me about a person's life. That's why I'm suited for this job, unless they're, whether it's just energetically or in terms of just hiding content, I get bored if there's an effort to hide something. It's a very strange thing, but I've come to accept that about myself, and it helps me to understand. Okay, and then to amp up the empathy at that point and be like, you're falling asleep because there's obviously a great need to hide something. So then I get very curious and try to help them, open up more.
You're curing your own boredom with trying to help them, right?
Well, it's a very interesting thing, because it seems selfish in a way, but it's actually that's where acting comes in. It's scene work. It really is. The two of you out there, it's almost like improv partners, and you kind of get a sense when your partner's not open to you and they're letting you down in a way. And so exactly, that's a great way of putting it. By curing your own boredom, you're actually, as the great psychoanalyst Winnicott, D.W. Winnicott said, you're inviting them to play, which is the main task of any therapy, really.
Yeah. Bite Mark also asks, what is your favorite poem?
Oh, well, I have two favorite poems. In college, I used to love Audre Lorde. It was a litany for survival. I had it in my room, in my dorm room in college, a litany for survival. And it's just about people. I'm gay. And so but it's really about anybody who has the experience of feeling like, oh gosh, I'm being surveilled, and I don't know if I can, live freely moment to moment. And it describes that very beautifully. But right now it's that Elizabeth Barrett Browning poem, How do I love thee, let me count the ways, because it just describes how I feel about my son. It's just, they, as much as they scatter your brain, as I think, as right, or anybody with kids, it's just, there's something, you kind of understand certain poems better once you have that feeling that they give you. So you realize, oh, it's not flowery at all. Those are the words, I want to use to talk about him. So those two.
Yeah, having kids, I mean, I had loved before, and of course I loved my parents and my family and all this stuff. And then once I had my daughter, it was just like, I did not love before.
Yeah, that's right.
And now I tell my kids, now I tell them every day, I'm like, do you know how much I love you? And they're always like, yes, Mom, we know.
Never stop telling us. Don't be discouraged.
No. Oh no, I never will.